There's something exhilarating about a fighter's return to the octagon. Whether it's a triumphant comeback or an unexpected twist, these moments capture the essence of the sport. Today, we're going to explore these unforgettable returns that left a lasting impact on MMA. From the biggest box office hits to the most memorable surprises, this list ranks the moments that truly changed the game. I'm Jin from Beyond the Octagon, and these are the 10 most unforgettable returns in MMA history. Starting off at number 10, we have Wanderlei Silva. By the time Wanderlei Silva made his long-awaited debut in the UFC, he was already a legend in the sport. With the most wins in Pride history, an unmatched undefeated streak, and a record number of knockouts and finishes, Silva's resume was the stuff of legends. He had dominated the Pride middleweight division and triumphed in a tournament that featured legends like Chuck Liddell and Rampage Jackson. However, Silva's UFC arrival came after a rough patch in his career, marked by brutal knockout losses to Cro Cop and Dan Henderson. Despite his storied past, Silva's UFC career started with a memorable fight against Chuck Liddell, one of the greatest matchups in MMA history. This bout was Silva's return to the UFC after a 7-year hiatus. After facing Liddell, Silva took a brief hiatus for much-needed surgeries, including repairing a repeatedly broken nose that caused sleep apnea and removing scar tissue from his eyes to prevent excessive bleeding. His return, though only 8 months later, was highly anticipated. Silva's comeback fight against Michael Bisping was highly memorable, reflecting the unpredictable nature of his career and the high stakes of his return. Number 9. Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez at his peak was widely regarded as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Even Fyodor Emelianenko, a legend himself, praised Velasquez as one of the sport's finest. After closing out his trilogy with Junior Dos Santos, who was undefeated before their series, Velasquez seemed invincible, with many wondering who could challenge him next. Enter Fabricio Werdum, who had made waves in the UFC following the Strikeforce acquisition. Werdum, having beaten Fedor and secured a 4-fight win streak, emerged as the next big contender. However, Velasquez's career was marred by injuries, including a lengthy hiatus during which Werdum claimed the interim heavyweight title. Velasquez's return at UFC 188 was highly anticipated, as he was set to fight Werdum for the undisputed title in Mexico City. But in a stunning turn of events, the usually unstoppable Velasquez appeared out of sorts. Known for his relentless cardio, he was visibly fatigued, struggling with the high altitude of Mexico City, a factor Werdum had better prepared for. Werdum exploited Velasquez's weariness, first outstriking him and then securing a guillotine choke during a takedown attempt. The altitude adjustment was a significant factor, with Velasquez spending only a week acclimating compared to Werdum's month-long preparation. While Werdum deserves credit for his performance, it was clear that this was not the best version of Cain Velasquez. Number 8. Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz, a fighter whose popularity might be a bit overshadowed for newer fans who mostly know his brother, was a massive star in his own right before his hiatus. Though he didn't fight for quite some time, his legacy remained significant. Diaz made a splash with his breakout performance against Robbie Lawler at UFC 47, and after a mixed early UFC career, he found success in Strikeforce, where he dominated the welterweight division and amassed a 10-fight win streak. Diaz's persona was far from conventional. He wasn't about the glitz and glam of press conferences or playing the role of a model athlete. Instead, he was known for his gritty performances and his no-nonsense attitude. So when the UFC acquired Strikeforce, it was a no-brainer to bring Diaz back and set up a high-profile showdown against then-champion GSP. However, the hype took a turn when Diaz missed the initial press conference, citing a missed flight and voicing his frustrations with the UFC's media demands. This created a buzz around his return, with Diaz's absence from the GSP fight leading to him being booked against BJ Penn instead, and Carlos Condit taking the title shot. In an unexpected twist, GSP suffered an injury, and Diaz found himself headlining the event against Penn. Diaz's return was marked by a decisive win over Penn and a memorable post-fight call-out where he famously questioned GSP's bravery. "I don't think George is hurt. I think he's scared. I think he's scared to fight everybody right now. What's up? Where you at, George?
I see you walking around, you've been screaming George, even though you just beat BJ Penn in an outstanding fight. What's on your mind right now?
I don't think George is hurt. I think he's scared. I think he's scared to fight everybody right now. What's up? Where you at, George?
This is obviously a big victory for you.
Number 7, Brock Lesnar. At UFC 199, as anticipation built for UFC 200, the hype was focused on the star-studded lineup, including the much-anticipated rematch between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. But just when it seemed like the promotional trailer had ended, a jaw-dropping surprise was unveiled. Can you see me now? The shock was palpable, and Joe Rogan's reaction perfectly captured the disbelief of fans everywhere. The announcement was that Brock Lesnar, who had been away from the Octagon for several years, would be making his comeback at UFC 200. The buzz wasn't just about the surprise return, but also about the how and why. Lesnar was supposed to be in the USADA testing pool for 6 months before being eligible to fight, but a controversial loophole allowed him to bypass this requirement since he was technically retired. This exemption meant he could undergo pre-fight testing as usual, despite the peculiar circumstances. Lesnar's return was indeed a spectacle. He won his bout, but the victory was short-lived as it was overturned to a no contest after he failed his pre-fight drug tests twice. His defense, claiming that the positive tests were due to foot cream, did little to quell the controversy. Despite the drama, Lesnar's return helped salvage UFC 200's pay-per-view numbers, especially after Jon Jones' last-minute removal from the card. The fight's fallout continued with a legal battle from Mark Hunt, who challenged the UFC over the fight's outcome and remains embroiled in legal disputes. Number 6, Dominick Cruz. Dominick Cruz's return to the UFC is a story of incredible resilience. Before his long layoff, Cruz was a dominant bantamweight champion with a 10-fight winning streak, including victories over Mighty Mouse and several successful title defenses. But in 2012, as he prepared for a high-profile rematch with Uriah Faber, Cruz suffered a torn ACL. His situation worsened when his body rejected the replacement ACL, extending his recovery time. By 2014, Cruz was set to return against interim champion Hernan Barao, but a torn groin forced him out again. The UFC stripped him of his title and crowned Barao the undisputed champion. Many doubted he'd return to form. Despite these setbacks, Cruz made a remarkable comeback on September 27, 2014, knocking out Takaya Mizugaki in the first round. But he wasn't done facing challenges. He tore the ACL in his other knee, requiring yet another surgery. On January 17, 2016, Cruz fought TJ Dillashaw for the title he never lost. He won by split decision, proving his enduring skill and determination. Cruz's return is a testament to his perseverance and remains one of the most inspiring comebacks in MMA history. Number 5, Randy Couture. Randy Couture's career is marked by impressive returns and upsets. After making a name for himself with wins in the UFC 13 heavyweight tournament and against Vita Belfort and Maurice Smith, Randy experienced a downturn with losses and a stint in Japan. Returning to the UFC at 37, Randy faced the larger Kevin Randleman and dominated, using his wrestling skills to win by TKO in the third round. He later captured the light heavyweight title from Chuck Liddell, but lost to him twice, including a knockout at age 42. Many expected Randy to retire after this defeat. Yet, Randy surprised everyone by announcing a comeback at heavyweight, where he would fight the reigning champion Tim Sylvia at 43. Despite the age and size disadvantages, Randy not only won the fight by unanimous decision, but also nearly knocked out Sylvia and submitted him in the first round. Randy's ability to defy the odds and perform at such a high level makes him one of the most revered figures in MMA history. Number 4, George St. Pierre. GSP's career is legendary, marked by 9 consecutive title defenses and a total of 13 in one of the sport's most competitive divisions. His last fight, a controversial win over Johnny Hendricks, led to a hiatus that many feared was permanent retirement. Despite speculation and public drama surrounding his return, including Dana White's mixed statements and the on-again, off-again booking against middleweight champion Michael Bisping, GSP finally made his comeback at UFC 217 in Madison Square Garden. The anticipation was immense, but doubts persisted about his long layoff, his move up in weight, and his apparent lack of shape leading up to the fight. It was later revealed that GSP had been battling ulcerative colitis, which severely affected his training camp. Despite these challenges, he made a triumphant return. After a tough second round, GSP finished Bisping in the third with a rear naked choke, proving that his skills were as sharp as ever. His performance not only reaffirmed his greatness, but also showcased his ability to adapt and excel even after a prolonged absence.
Number 3. Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey was once the biggest star in MMA, breaking records and capturing public attention like no one before her. She hit over 1 million pay-per-view buys before Conor McGregor did, and in 2015, she was the third most Googled person in the world. Despite the backlash she faced for her behavior and treatment of fans and media, her record remains impressive. Rousey's dominance was exemplified by her swift 14-second victory over Kat Zingano. However, her loss to Holly Holm was a shocking revelation of her weaknesses, particularly in striking. Holm's win exposed Rousey's vulnerabilities and led to her loss of invincibility. Miesha Tate, who had beaten Holm, was then dominated by Amanda Nunes, setting the stage for Rousey's return at UFC 207. Her comeback against Nunes was highly anticipated, but ultimately disastrous. Rousey was thoroughly outmatched and quickly became a punching bag for Nunes, leading to a swift and brutal end to her career. The UFC's promotional approach, which focused almost exclusively on Rousey's return and ignored Nunes, contributed to the overshadowing of the current champion. Rousey's refusal to participate in traditional media, unlike other fighters like Conor McGregor, further alienated fans and media alike. This return is memorable not only for the dramatic decline of a once dominant star, but also for how the UFC mishandled the promotion, leading to a career end that left fans with mixed feelings.
Number 2. Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor's return is etched in MMA history for its extraordinary spectacle and drama. After an unprecedented 2.4 million pay-per-view buys for UFC 229, McGregor's comeback was marked by a series of unforgettable events that amplified his star power. McGregor's return followed a historic boxing match against Floyd Mayweather and was anticipated with intense hype. However, his comeback was anything but smooth. The drama began with McGregor's infamous bus attack at UFC 223, an incident fueled by a confrontation between Khabib and McGregor's teammate Artem Lobov. McGregor's actions, which led to injured fighters and legal repercussions, were used by the UFC to further hype their impending clash. At UFC 229, McGregor faced Khabib in a highly charged atmosphere. The build-up saw McGregor crossing lines by attacking Khabib's personal life and family, creating a feud that went far beyond typical fight promotion. In the Octagon, Khabib dominated McGregor with ease, leading to an emphatic submission victory. The aftermath was chaotic, with a post-fight brawl erupting both inside and outside the cage. The magnitude of the event and its fallout made McGregor's return one of the most memorable in MMA history, with the UFC's promotional tactics and the dramatic fight result ensuring that the entire spectacle remains a defining moment in the sport.
And finally, at number 1, we have the man who got me into the sport, Fedor Emelianenko.
Fedor Emelianenko's career is legendary, marked by an almost decade-long unbeaten streak in Pride and victories over top fighters. His shocking losses to Fabricio Verdum, Bigfoot Silva, and Dan Henderson led many to believe his prime was behind him, and his retirement seemed imminent after 3 wins in 2012 and a shift toward a political career in Russia. However, Fedor's passion for fighting drew him back into the sport, and in 2015, he announced his return at Bellator Dynamite 1 alongside Pride's former president Sakaki Bara. The announcement was met with excitement as fans eagerly anticipated his comeback fight, especially since it was set to take place in Japan, echoing the old Pride days. Yet, the announcement of his opponent, Jaideep Singh, an underwhelming choice with only one win, dampened the excitement. Fedor's quick victory over Singh in just 3 minutes of the first round showcased his enduring skill, but left many fans disappointed with the lack of a more notable opponent. Despite this, in my biased opinion, Fedor's return is memorable for its dramatic build-up and the nostalgia of seeing him back in action, even if the opponent didn't quite live up to expectations.
And with that, guys, we conclude our rundown of the 10 unforgettable MMA returns that left a mark. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.